noches. We're here with Emmanuel Sparkas, Deputy Secretary General.
Hi there.
It's a pleasure to have you here. We wanted to know what is your expectations towards this 2017 edition of LIMUN?
What my expectation is? Well, my expectation is to exceed expectations. So basically, I was here already last year at LIMUN 2016, and it was an amazing conference. And so our goal was to keep it at that level and to make everyone's experience the most valuable and useful and enjoyable. And so far, I think we're on track. But of course, this is just the first day, so we will see.
For how long have you been working on LIMUN?
So I think by now it's 2 years, or a bit more than 1.5 years, and yes, so around that time.
And in total, how many have you done?
So in
MUNs?
total, how many MUNs I have done? As a delegate, I think I have done 4, and organizing I have done 2. So in total 6.
Great. And have you ever sent any roses, flirted with other ones? Have you used the gossip box?
I used the gossip box.
Oh.
There were quite a number of stories at World Moon, but I probably don't go much deeper in that now. But we actually wanted to have roses here at LIMUN, and unfortunately we don't. And that's something that is quite unfortunate, but hopefully next year we're going to have roses here.
So in the end, we're not going to have roses in this edition?
Unfortunately not, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can't send a rose in the end to that person.
No, I can't.
Oh, it's a shame.
Not even to you.
Oh, I was waiting for one though, so you better go and buy one.
Yeah.
And tell me, now that we've had this sudden new president, Donald Trump, Brexit, Marine Le Pen rising, how do you expect the course of MUN in this year is going to change in conferences?
So if there's one thing what I really like about MUN is that it gives me a lot of meaning, because as I think a lot of us are, we're quite addicted to news, aren't we? And we always hear those bad news, and especially if I just watched very recently Trump's press conference, and then I was just like, you got so used to that guy. But then just like what he said, it was like, I just could not believe in that moment that this guy is the president of the most powerful country. So what I think that means for MUN, it's inspiring to do MUN, because why is Trump so successful? Because he has so much speaking experience, because he has been on TV. He knows what the people want to hear in a sense, so he can entertain them. And I think in that sense, that's what Dalai Lama said. Your enemy is your best teacher. And I have a lot of views that I have are very opposing to the views that Trump has. And so I think it's the wrong thing to just condemn him, but the right thing is just to learn from him and to make sure that the good people get good at public speaking as well.
Would you like, if you had the chance to, now that Trump's delegation, one day represent the USA as in a committee, how would you do it?
That's an interesting question. Well, it got it got more difficult to represent the US, but also, now you can. It's a key issue, because you never really know what Trump is actually what he wants to do. So right now especially, of course, on the one hand you got to be very hard on a lot of countries, especially from the Middle East or, for instance, Mexico. But it's very hard, I would say, to be a serious delegate if you represent the U.S. So it makes it tougher, because of course, on the one hand you don't want to be superficial, but on the other hand you want to make an authentic representation, and it's tricky.
And do you have any other role or objective to reach inside MUN that you would like to have or reach? Like Secretary General?
So for me, I'm just really happy with how it works this year. I think at LIMUN we have a really, really terrific team. So just the success of this conference that's something I really realized like 3-4 weeks ago, where you see that really everyone is doing different tasks, and then you see how everything comes together. And so I really had, I think, I would give this a 10 out of 10. So there's nothing I think I can do more to have an even greater MUN experience. So I think this is my answer to that.
And in the opening ceremony, everyone stood up with Kate's
Gilmore.
speech. Mm, did it inspire you also? What were your...
So what I find really amazing about her personality is that she is so authentic. So you can see that throughout her career that she was always in leading positions, whether it was Amnesty International, whether it was the UN Population Fund, and now she's a Deputy High Commissioner for Human Rights of the UN. So if you put human rights, she is like the second most important person on human rights worldwide. And you can see that. You can see how much she cares, and like you could also see that in her speech. And also she's just so grounded. She's the way we were speaking to her before and after. And if you would pass by on her next to the street, you wouldn't guess that she would be the Deputy High Commissioner for Human Rights. So she has a very human way, and I think that's why she also succeeded.
So in the future, if you could have a role inside the UN, where would you like to be?
Um, I don't think that I actually gonna end up working for the UN. So I think for me personally, I think I'm gonna go back to Germany at some point in national politics, because I think right now it's an unfortunate time that we have that more countries are getting more decisions to make and so on, and kind of as we heard today from Lüketov, but also from Turk, that funding for the UN gets quite withdrawn, and over the long term, it is clear that we need to be united with different countries to maybe the four largest challenges that we have over this century: scarcity of resources, negative consequences of globalization, overpopulation, and global warming. And these four, we can't do them alone. So the UN is incredibly important. But for me, I think I can have an even greater impact on it just on a single country scale, and then perhaps later go to the UN. Well, I think the current system of the UN is in many senses imperfect, but it's also so hard to make it really viable and liable to the people. And that's something we can see with the European Union, for example, that there are many people all over Europe who just don't really feel that they're represented in the European Union. And of course then the European Union is just one continent, and the UN is you have them all. So it's a massive challenge.
But do you believe that the European Union is in the end, it's a good idea, or nations should separate and act as Great Britain and go by themselves?
I really believe that's why the European Union won the Nobel Peace Prize, because it is definitely something we have to do and something we want to do. So what we rather want to think about how we can improve that design and just the concept, because that's all human made. And I think it becomes trickier if we dig down into some of the other layers. For instance, if we look at the euro, and we see that we have some countries that would have very strong currencies and some countries that would have weak currencies. So, for instance, I think the euro has failed so far, and that is one of the reasons why we don't have that much growth in Europe. And of course, then it's easy to blame that on the European Union and so on, and then to say, all right, they're just some bureaucrats in Brussels. And it's a mega project, and what I think is the most important thing, that you acknowledge that certain things can be improved, and then you gradually improve them. But of course, with having elections in almost every member state every year, that's also a challenge.
Okay. What importance do you think press has in MUNs?
I think it is what MUN, especially LIMUN, since we have so many committees, everyone is really focused about their committees. And I remember last year, the secretariat room, we were sharing with the press room, one room, and I was amazed to see all their work and to see all the different stories of the committees. And I think that is something press can do, to really get the MUN vibe from each committee together, and then we see actually what has been done over the weekend.
So if it's that important, why weren't you in the press conference today?
That's a good question. I was speaking and picking up our guest who just arrived from lunch, and that's why I wasn't at the press conference.
You're sure?
Yes.
Oh, okay then. Well, it was a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much, Emmanuel.
Thank you very much as well.
Okay, thank you.